Welcome. Today is Monday, April the 18th, and we're into season 7. Welcome, welcome, welcome to another episode of Issues and Answers with yours truly, Honorable Valencia Stovall. You are listening to the new WCEG network, WCEGTalkRadio.com. We're the worldwide community empowerment group where we speak life into the community. The disclaimer, as I always say, is the topic and opinions are those of the show hosts and guests and not of WCEG network. You can like us on Facebook, follow us on YouTube, Twitter, Instagram at WCEG_talk_radio and at WCEG network. Thank you for your continued support and tell a friend. So of course we pause today to pray for peace in this world. There's still war going on, not just overseas, where we have some wars that are internally going on here in the US with different problems and situations. And whenever there's war, there are always casualties and disruptions. So may God give the leaders wisdom to know what to do and when to do it. So, last show we talked about why your vote is important. We talked about the meaning of policy and how it affects you and your family, everything you do each and every day. And so I just mentioned about how the effects of policies are affecting us in the places that laws are actually implemented. And we have to be careful about the individuals we choose that to be on the ballots each time the election is held. Your voice is your vote, and your vote is your voice. So don't continue to complain without taking action. And so as many of you know, we have a primary that's coming up May the 24th. And so I have a special guest with me today, Miss Tamara Shealey. And she is a candidate for the U.S. Senate race. And so, of course, she and I were we're in this battle for this particular seat 2 years ago in 2020. And so getting a chance to really talk to her again, even after our election and us going and being in the primary. Of course, I qualified for Congressional District 5, which is the seat that I am seeking now. And she's a candidate for the U.S. Senate seat. And so we're going to talk with Miss Tamara and to find out, why did she decide to run again this year in 2022 for this particular seat. So welcome, Tamara. And I know that you all, just so you know, she is on the road heading to her next event. And, I remember those days being a statewide candidate, you're trying to get across the entire state. Y'all, it's 159 counties and with a short amount of time. So we appreciate her taking time to being able to talk with us. Good afternoon, Miss Tamara.
Good afternoon, Valencia. Thank you for having me.
Yes. So let us know, why did you decide to enter the race again? Before, it was 21 people in that race, and now you're back again in 2022.
Yeah. So this is not my first run. It's definitely surely not your first run, but this is not my first, not my second, not my third, not my fourth. This is actually my 5th consecutive run for office. Valencia, when you have a heart to serve, it just won't leave you. You can't let it go. You can't shake it. It won't go nowhere. So I am committed to serving. And I love Georgia. I'm a native Georgian. I'm actually from South Georgia. I'm from Savannah, Georgia, with my roots being in Effingham and Bryan County. I'm actually a country girl. Okay. But to answer your question, I'm committed to serving. I am totally committed to serving.
Okay. And when it's in your blood to do it, that's what you have to end up doing, and you can't run from it. I tried to run from it, but it didn't do any good. And so we're glad to have you into the race again. So tell us, what is your platform, or what is it that you want voters to know as to why they should select Tamara on in the May 24th primary election?
Well, Valencia, when I ran my first 3 races, I ran for the Georgia State Senate, and I've always talked very boldly about race, racism, and race relations. There's so many people that are just left in the margins, and we have to be intentional about giving everybody a voice in politics. So the district that I ran in, for those of you that are familiar with, a little north of Atlanta, she was actually 3 counties: DeKalb, Gwinnett, and Fulton. And again, that was a red, but it was red. It was a red district. Senator Fran Miller sat in that seat, and I ran against him, again, talking about race, racism, and race relations. When I ran this 4th race in the U.S. Senate, Valencia, where you and I were both candidates, I took it up to the next level, and I started really advocating for reparations. And so the root of me, and who I am, with this campaign and with my previous campaigns, I just have to reach those people whose voices are just not being heard. So I'm a reparationist. I talk very boldly about reparations, and hence that's why I run.
All right, and that word reparations is always, sometimes it's a little confusing. I mean, we kind of know the gist of it, dating back to when General Sherman, was scheduled, required to go around and let all the slaves know that they were free in 1863, but we didn't get the word to 1865. Well, our ancestors didn't get it. And so, that's part of where it's stemming from. But kind of clear up, what are usually those things that are most confusing when you're talking to people about reparations?
Yeah, this is unfinished business, Valencia. As you just said, the history is there. I apologize, but GPS is making sure I'm going in the right direction. But yeah, the history this is unfinished business, and reparations. There's a lot of people don't understand what it is. They don't think we'll ever get it, and I get a whole lot of pushback. But reparations, for those who don't know quite what it is, it's not them giving us anything. This is a debt. A debt is owed to us. We didn't get those 40 acres and a mule. And if we talk about the systemic injustices that began with slavery and extended through Jim Crow and black codes and convict leasing and the no New Deal and no GI Bill and redlining, war on drugs, mass incarceration, systemic injustice after systemic injustice that has happened to us as a people. So when we talk about reparations is not something they're giving us. This is what's owed to us. And what a lot of Black people don't know is that we were never, don't understand, they know that we were never able to accumulate generational wealth because of these systemic injustices, because of the unbroken promise of 40 acres and a mule, because of this unfinished business with Black America. We have never been able to accumulate generational wealth. The data shows that by 2053, Black America will have zero net wealth. This was pre-COVID data. So we're on a race to the bottom. White America has 10 times the wealth of Black America. We're about 13% of this population, but we only have about 2.6% of this nation's wealth. That wealth is concentrated. It's athletes, it's entertainers. We hurting. Black America is hurting. And we have to be intentional about our repairs. When we talk about reparations, it's about repairing the damage that's been done to generations of us, generation after generation, that we have yet to come out of. So this is unfinished business, Valencia. And you said it, Sherman promised us something that we didn't get. And we're going to Washington. In the last words of Dr. King, we're coming to get our check.
Right. And so, and it's interesting as to, your platform being, basically on reparations, even though we know that everything else is still centered around it. And like you said, the injustices that have occurred over the years to Black Americans. And so when you talk about reparations, you have all mix of Blacks that are here in America. Is there a specific group, is it descendants of slaves, or is it who are we talking about when it comes to reparations? Yeah,
what America doesn't owe all Black people. There's a lot of migrants, people who came here, in the 50s, 60s, they came here. But those of us who are descendants of maternal side or your paternal side back to slavery in this country, then we're the ones that are owed reparations. So no, this is not something that's owed to all Black people in America. And that's some of the pushback too, because, making this a race-based claim, that's not going to fly. That's not going to pass muster in the courts. But lineage-based, those of us who are, who are descendants of chattel slavery, we're the ones that are owed reparations.
Right. And when you talk about that, what has not been distributed to us that's owed to us. And I know that there's a bill up in Congress that talks about reparations and forming a commission. Sometimes we hear people say, we've studied enough, we already know what the problems are or the issues. What are your thoughts, or, once you're in the U.S. Senate, what are your thoughts on how will you handle that particular legislation, or what would be the next steps?
Yeah, HR 40 has been introduced since 1989. God bless it. So John Conyers, who since passed away, introduced that bill, and it's been introduced every year. So this is not a new conversation. This is not a new initiative. And preceding him, there's been a movement. There's been a movement for decades now around reparations. So we're not just saying something that's brand new. This is been going on, and we have HR 40 in the House that is now being carried by Sheila Jackson Lee, and we have S40 over in the Senate, and that's being carried by Cory Booker. So the legislation is alive, and we have to continue to push and fight for it. Reparations is going to be good for all of America, not just Black America. It's going to be good for all of America. Yes.
And so is there an estimate as far as the monetary part, or is it like a mixture of monetary and non-monetary?
Oh, it's both. It's definitely both. It will, America's going to have to cut the check. This is, again, where we're not able to accumulate generational wealth. There will have to be monies, in addition to all the other resources that it takes to repair us as a people. My goal is to create the reparations administration, the same way we have the Social Security Administration, the same way we have the Veterans Administration, that those agencies, federal agencies that assist those specific individuals, we need to have the reparations administration. Will be, one of my first initiatives is to define us in the law, this legal definition of who we are as descendants of chattel slavery. And then we have to have, when we trace our lineage, some sort of registry, a database that says, these are the people that are owed reparations in this country. And again, creating that reparations administration, that'll be the infrastructure, just again, like the Social Security Administration, like the VA, that will house our redress. This is work.
Okay, you break it up a little bit. You must. And that's one of those other things that we talk about as far as on the congressional federal level is broadband.
To get here, it might.
Yeah. So she's our guest today is Tamara Shealey, and she's a candidate for the U.S. Senate race on your ballot for the primary election May the 24th. And she's traveling, of course, on the campaign trail down in South Georgia. And so one of the things that we always talk about as well on the federal level is that support that's needed for the broadband, because it does limit the opportunities for South Georgia, that area we call rural Georgia, and the metro area. And it does not make them as competitive. So that's why you heard her kind of going in and out. And those are things being able to work on that federal level as well, that would help the entire state of Georgia. Are you back yet, Tamara?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes,
Yes, it is. I could hear you, and yes, rural Georgia is lacking, when it comes to having the necessary infrastructure down here. The internet is choppy, your phone services are choppy. So yeah, we definitely have to be intentional about getting rural Georgia the resources that they need.
Yes. And so one of the questions I did have, I know that the United States has paid reparations or monies to Jewish American, Japanese, and I think Native Americans was the other. And it seems like when it comes to blacks or the descendants of slaves, there's always an argument when it comes to that. What is your thoughts on that particular statement?
It's quite disheartening that we have to fight. We have to fight for what we need. I mean, when we built this country, our ancestors built this country with their lives. Centuries of free labor, and again, the additional systemic atrocities that have happened to us. And we're the ones that are still asking, and now we're demanding that reparations is paid.
Yes, because even when you think, like you talked about, centuries of free labor, because of this, our ancestors were not paid, but they worked the fields for rice, for cotton, sugar cane, and who knows whatever else. And then when they were supposed to be freed, they still then were having to have to pay money as an indentured servant. That end up, even though 10 years will come, and they still were not better off than where they were before. And so the money that was accumulated, not just in the US, but even other countries like France, of course, Britain, UK, and this Spanish, the Spanish colony, all of those were able to earn very much wealth that it has been passed down to their generations when it comes down to what actually happened during slavery. And our ancestors were not compensated as you would, like we're working now, you work on the job, you receive your check. And so I just wanted to know that you have anything else to add to that.
No, I just want Black people to get on code. I want Black Georgians to understand the urgency of why reparations has to happen. We're in this COVID, a post-COVID season, quote unquote, and we're really trying to pull ourselves together. But this is a new age. This is the information age. Things are not the same. My children, I have young adult children. There are no jobs. The jobs that exist, and they don't pay them the way they need to be paid. But our children are innovators. They're creators, and we have to give them the resources they need to be able to compete in this now global society that we live in. So reparations is like our house is on fire, and we have to get the resources that we need to support the next generation. So we need to do this now.
Right, I definitely agree. I want to kind of move a little bit towards some of the things that you and I have been facing as candidates, Democratic candidates within the state of Georgia. And it's been very difficult, I can imagine, for you in running in that race with its two Democrats, but it seems like only one Democrat is being recognized. And issue that we even had with the Atlanta Press Club, with not even covering the 5th congressional district nor the U.S. Senate race. But on the U.S. Senate race, they are going to interview and do a forum for the Republicans that are in the U.S. Senate race, but not the Democrats, which I thought was very interesting. And the same thing for Congressional District 5, which I was told that it was not the races that they're not covering were not competitive race, and they didn't have contenders. And I have not yet understood what that meant. Besides, as far as money, that's the only thing I can think of. What are your thoughts of being left out of being able to have a chance, an opportunity to have your voice heard among those Georgians that may not see you because you don't have the kind of money that's been put into the race like with your opponent?
Yeah, it makes me really upset, Valencia, because anybody that puts themselves out to serve, in the party I believe should stay neutral. And when the party picks favorites, or the party picks, who they feel should be, supported, how democratic is that? So it really makes me angry that we are having to fight with the party that we want to serve and represent it. Yes. So yeah, I'm not happy about it at all. You know, the Atlanta Press Club has decided not to, you know, have a debate for in the 5th congressional district or my race, a U.S. Senate race. They decided that. That's a decision based on, and the word they keep using is competitive. What does that mean? That we can't compete? You're baffled, and so am I, Valencia, with what that word actually means, and how dare they say that when we put ourselves out to serve, and our names are on the ballot. So I don't like the games that are being played. I don't like them at all.
And I think you've also witnessed in some of the Democratic county parties where they have, you know, invited your opponent and left you out like you're not a person on the ballot. And so I think that's unfair as well. Like you said, and I'll let you speak to that. You know, we all paid our money and we all decided that we want to be candidates. And because we're not able to raise the money as some others are able to raise, that does not take away our ability for us to be able to get our voices out there. And so what I expressed to the member of the Atlanta Press Club who I spoke with was that she talked about it being the only platform in the state, you know, across the nation where the debate is being held. And I told her that's the more reason why they need to make sure that they're covering all the races. I said, this may be the only platform that some of us be able to obtain because we're not able to raise the money. But I guarantee you we'll be competitive if our voice is able to get on that national platform.
And maybe that's that competitive word, Valencia, that's the operative word, competitive. Maybe the goal is for us not to be able to compete. You know, this is they're hindering us and blocking us, and they don't want us to compete. Maybe, you know, I'm still trying to understand what this word competitive means, and they just keep taking me down a rabbit hole with it.
Yeah. And it's sad because I told her that it was voter suppression. I said, because you're suppressing the rights of the voters to know everybody, to hear everybody's voice. And the same thing kind of happened in 2020 when there was 21 people in the race. I questioned the Atlanta Press Club and GPB as well, as far as the fairness in that. And they said, oh, we went by a poll. And I said, what poll? Because polls can be distorted depending on the question that you're asking the voters. And if you didn't call out all 21 names when the poll was being made, then that wasn't a fair polling. And then you only probably polled a certain segment. But in your case, where it's only 2 people in the race, it's no reason for them not to have conducted a debate forum with the 2 Democratic candidates. They're doing it for the Republicans.
Absolutely, Valencia, absolutely. There's, you know, again, it just sounds like some people have made a decision about who they want to see in office. And again, like you said, voter suppression. So they are deciding who is the candidate and who they're going to give voice to. You know, it's terrible. I just, you know, it is amazing to me that this is even happening. Like, we are really fighting the party to be heard when the party should remain neutral and give all of us a fair opportunity. That's all we're asking for.
Yeah, that's all, you know, and let the best person who presents themselves the best, then let them come out on top. But if you never make it a level playing field, and it's sad that when you have the parties, the Democratic parties in the different counties, they have taken sides, their leadership has taken sides. That's unfair as well, because they're not supposed to take individuals. You can do what you want to do, but when you're representing the party, you're supposed to stay neutral. And, you know, and even in the case of having the person that's serving as the chair and as a congresswoman, that's a whole nother conversation about fairness, you know, in the race. So, Tamara, I know you are having to get to your next destination. Was there anything else that you would like to say to the listening audience with WCEG Network?
Yeah, just please go to the polls, y'all. Tell everybody, y'all, please get out and vote this primary election season. I know that a lot of people are, not feeling like they want to vote. They're not happy with leadership, whether it be national or local. But when you have good candidates like myself and Valencia on the ballot who are, giving you a real choice for change, please get out and vote and spread the word about our candidacy. So, yeah, you can find me on all social media handles at Tamara Shealey and Tamara for Georgia on Facebook. And my website is tamara4georgia.com. So thank you, Valencia. I really appreciate it.
All right. Thank you. You be safe, and we'll definitely be seeing each other again soon.
Thank you.
Right. Bye-bye. Well, you all have heard a brief but very good conversation with Tamara Johnson Shealey. She's a candidate for U.S. Senate race, and there are only two Democrats on that ballot. It's Tamara and the other person. And so you all guess who the other person is. I'm not going to get them in to play on my show. They get enough publicity, but they won't get in on this show. And so we thank Tamara for coming on and talk to us about a platform which is about reparations, and we hear a lot about that. So as many of you all know, I am seeking Congressional District 5 seat, and my platform is very basic, simple: the buck, the book, and the ballot. The buck is economic rejuvenation. The book is reimagining education, and the ballot is voter education, which is what we just were talking about. Our voters, making sure they're educated on what the issues are and who are the candidates. You all make sure you go and research the candidates. Make sure you're registered to vote by going to my voter page. So you can Google my voter page, Georgia, and it will come up. And if you're registered, you put in your information. I went over that at the last meeting, not me, this is a meeting, but our last show about how to register to vote. And so I want to talk about a few announcements, of course, that we have, but I think I'm going to save my say what till after I do my announcements, because I do have some say what's this time. So we're hosting a free movie screening of Miss Virginia. So Miss Virginia is a movie that came out in 2019, and we're allowing you to do a free virtual movie screening. Only thing you have to do is going to be this Sunday, April the 24th, and from 4 p.m. to 6:30 p.m. And you will have to register in order to get the link so that you can be able to watch this movie. Now, you might say, what's so important about Miss Virginia? Well, Miss Virginia is about a woman who's a single parent who is having problems trying to raise her 15-year-old son with having the best education that he can have in Washington, D.C., where she lives. But her problem is just not unique to Washington, D.C. area where she lives or she lived. It is something that happens across the United States. And it happens in areas where there is not equality when it comes to education. And parents don't have a choice like they should have a choice. And their only choice is what they have in their neighborhoods. So this particular movie is very good. We're going to have a panel discussion while the movie is taking place. And you all can Google Miss Virginia, that's MISS, and the word Virginia. And it has nothing to do with the state of Virginia, but it has everything to do with the lady. Her name is Virginia Walden Ford. That is her name, and it's actually based on a true story. And it has a lot to do with policies and how policies affect what we're doing, and even in education in this instance. She even had to go all the way to Washington, D.C. in order to get her voice heard. And it was hard, but she decided to continue to fight. And because she continued to fight, she was able to get the results that she needed. It wasn't an easy fight, but that's Miss Virginia. And that's going to be this Sunday, April the 24th. Go to GoStovall.com to register for this movie screening. All right. Now, tomorrow, if you want to talk to me live and in living color, because I know you all see me on the screen here, We'll be having a meet and greet on tomorrow. That's Tuesday, April the 19th at 6 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. And it's going to be at the DAS, that's DAS Barbecue Restaurant at 350 Memorial Drive in Atlanta. That's DAS Barbecue at 350 Memorial Drive in Atlanta. It's free parking and some good food. And that's going to be tomorrow from 6 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. So come out, let me know you're there, and we look forward to seeing you there. Now, there are 2 candidate forums this week that I'm going to be on, and some other candidates are going to be on there as well. So make sure you all are coming out, and these are ones you could go in person, or you can also view them online. But the first one is going to be Wednesday. So day after tomorrow is Wednesday, April the 20th at 6:30 p.m. It starts at 6:30 to 8:30 at the BBQ spot. I know it sounds like we liking barbecue, but I had nothing to do with this. BBQ spot, 1375 Mount Zion Road in Morrow. It's the Old Soul Delicious Restaurant. So those of you all who know Mount Zion, remember going to the Soul Delicious Restaurant where you can go in and all you can eat buffet, where they've changed it to the BBQ spot, the barbecue spot. And that's going to be the voice of the people, meet the candidate forum. Some outstanding candidates are going to be there. And this is sponsored by WIGO and Phoenix Media Group. So you could be able to watch it live streaming on the WIGO 1570 website. And so I definitely encourage you all, if you don't want to come out, then you can watch it online. The second forum that I will also be on is Students' Voice. So now we have the young people that say we want to hear from the candidates. And this is the Students' Voice Georgia Candidate Forum. And this is going to be hosted by high school seniors and young adults. So they're going to be the ones asking the questions. And so it's going to be 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. at the Atlanta Metropolitan Library. So everyone who's familiar in Atlanta, the Atlanta Metropolitan Library, that's on 1332 Metropolitan Parkway. 1332 Metropolitan Parkway in Atlanta. And this one, students coming from the FCCLA, that's one of the student, statewide student groups, a national student organization. Change for Hope, KBCN Media Group, Empire Board of Realtors, and the Women Council with the Empire Board of Realtors. And it's going to also be in person and live streaming on kbcntv.com. So that's 2 places, you all. If you want to see me live and in living color, you come out on Wednesday, April the 20th at the BBQ spot at 6:30, and you can come again at the Students' Voice Candidate Forum on Thursday, 4 p.m. To 7 p.m. at the Atlanta Metropolitan Library at 1332 Metropolitan Parkway. Next announcement. So those are 2 ways, and they're going to have different candidates there from Lieutenant Governor, of course, U.S. Congressional District, some local races, the state Senate, state senators, school board, county commissioner, and some more. You know, you never know until you get there who all is going to be there. But make sure y'all are coming out, because this goes back to when I talk about the ballot, voter education. You can't know until you're actually educating yourself on who the candidates are, and you're able to ask questions. Okay, the next announcement is Yoruba Day, Resolution Day Cultural Celebration. That's Saturday, April the 30th. It's going to be virtual from 10:30 a.m. to 11:30. And you all can watch that on the facebook.com/Status Network LLC. So Status Network will be the site where we'll be actually doing the filming of the show on Saturday, April the 30th. And you know, Yoruba culture is one of the largest African tribes, and we will be hearing from kings. We'll actually be able to physically see their palaces through, of course, video, and we'll be discussing music, art, and historical sites. And we'll also have a panel discussion talking about the myths and misconceptions between the Africans in the diaspora and African Americans. It's always a good conversation. All right. Of course, 7 Pillars Career Academy is having their mission Wipe It Clean. You can contact the school at 404-500-1294 to get your Clorox wipes. All right. Primary election day is May the 24th. Early voting starts May the 2nd. You can apply for your absentee ballots through your county voter registrar's office. So make sure that you are doing that. And so I talked about our Say What, and I made some notes on my phone so that I wouldn't forget about the Say What's for this election. So in the AJC, they published it on April the 5th that no campaign fundraising was able to take place during session, which legislative session. Where a year ago, the General Assembly passed some legislation that allowed the governor and legislative leaders to create a special fund that lets them raise unlimited amount of campaign funds, including during the legislative session, when it had previously been prohibited. So before this legislation passed last year, if you were elected official, you could not raise money if you were a state elected official on down, was state elected official. And so now the funds were called a leadership committee. That's where the funds were set up in this account called leadership committees. And it was approved in part to help, of course, Governor Kemp, who faces both the Republican primary and general election opposition this year, and other leaders. And so it's not just Republican, but it's Democrat as well. Now, the kicker is the bill bans fundraising during the session by the committees. That particular thing won a unanimous approval from the Senate Ethics Committee. So this is what I'm talking about, how the bill went through the process. Y'all have heard me talk a lot of time about the bill going through the process. And so this particular, when it went through the Senate's Rule Committee, it was chaired by the lawmaker who sponsored the Leadership Committee legislation last year. So, like I said, it's a little tricky when you start talking about policies and who is it going to benefit. So, in other words, the governor, because he's a leadership position, and some of the others in leadership positions can have created a campaign committee. Now, normally what happens when you're an elected official or somebody running for office, you create a candidates committee, and that amount is limited per person for that particular race. If you're in a primary, it's $2,900, of course, for state and federal. I think the governor might be a little different, but you can't go over that amount. But this special committee, leadership committee, they can raise an unlimited amount. So that's the Say What. So you talk about some money coming into Georgia for these elections. More money has been coming into Georgia because of this special committee. Now, don't think that Brian Kemp is the only one. Guess what? After the primary, then the Democratic nominee for governor will be able to have a leadership committee as well, because then that person will be the leadership for the Democratic Party. So don't think, he can raise some money right now, but soon after May 24th, the other candidate gonna be able to raise some money as well. And guess what? They can spend that money and give it to other candidates that are in different races. So they don't have to just be for their particular race. They can spend it on other stuff as well. So that's what makes it unfair. That scale, we talk about the scale of justice supposed to be equal. It's not equal when it comes down to elections and campaigns. And it's sad because it's getting to the point where if you don't have the big money to run an election, you almost might as well don't even run, because you have to do so much more work. Our campaign we're running, of course, is grassroots. We definitely haven't raised a lot of money, not even enough, but we're working it as best as we can, grassroots. But we're up against, large money, large spenders. And so who will spend money however they need to get the votes that they want. They don't necessarily mean the votes that they should get in that position, but that's what happens. And so until we are looking at how we come back and change campaign finance laws. The little people like myself, Tamara, and so many others who are running in these races, statewide, and even locally in our particular districts, you know, it's very uphill battle. And some people might say, Valencia, why I haven't seen you on the commercial? Say what? Yeah, I don't have a leadership committee. I don't have big fundraising money that's coming into my campaign. So we had to use word of mouth. Listen, why I don't see as many signs out in the in your district? I see the other person saying, say what? Yeah, that costs some money to get those signs out. Why don't you know? Are you gonna be able to do a mailer? Hey, we plan on doing a mailer, but say what? It costs some money. It's almost to the point where if you're wealthy, you run for office and you stay in office. And guess what? That's not for the people. That's not what's going to be best for the people. And you're going to see that those special interest groups are the ones that are going to decide what legislation goes through, what legislation is introduced, what is passed. And that doesn't necessarily mean that it's for you as a constituent, the one that's at the bottom of the totem pole. So you all better watch out and pay close attention when it comes down to this election. Don't go by, don't, like they said, that song said, don't believe what you're hearing or the hype on it. Don't believe that, because it's not all what you see. You all need to make sure that you are investigating these candidates and asking questions. If you don't see some of them on the debate forum, why do they think they're too good to get on the debate forum? Some of them think that they don't have to get on the debate forum. Oh, they're going to vote for me anyway because I'm this position. I'm in this position, that position. So now those who feel their votes don't count, you're right, they're not going to count. So you all better speak up and let them know this election cycle that big money spenders, and the sad part about it is to say what? Is that the ones that are crying wolf about, oh, I need some more money, that other party, them other folks raising all that money, you check their campaign account and see how much millions of dollars and hundreds of thousands of dollars they have. They just tricking y'all. But if y'all don't read, you don't research, then you're going to get what you get. You can't say the candidates are not out here offering themselves up for who are really true public servants, because they are, and they're putting their heart into it to make sure that they're trying their best to get the word out. But we need you all to spread the word as well. And you got to say no to the big money spenders for this primary. And you're going to send a message. But if you don't, and you fall for the okadoke, you're going to get okadoke, because that's what you have been seeing already. Now, the next thing I want to talk about, I talked about a little bit with Tamara, was the Atlanta Press Club. So the Atlanta Press Club is one of the largest debate forum that is held for people that are running for office. And this is viewed by thousands and millions of people. And it's hosted by Atlanta Press Club, a lot of milk series, but it's also going to be streamed on GPB. All of us watch GPB, right? Yes. Well, however, their selection committee made the selection. I don't think that it was fair. That's my opinion as part of that disclaimer. And as you heard Tamara say the same thing, and many other people, they're not covering all the races. And if you look at what races they're covering, it's really not equal coverage with both parties. And so I'm going to tell you how to go look it up. Google Atlanta Press Club debates that are coming up the beginning of next month. And you will not see Congressional District 5, this is a competitive race, because the person who's the incumbent never had to run a Democratic primary. She was appointed in this seat. And so because she was appointed, she didn't have to race. She didn't have to run. And so now she just had a Republican challenger, but the Democrat, because of the state law and how the law was set, once Congressman Lewis passed away, it was left to the Democratic Party of Georgia to select who the Democratic nominee was going to be on the ballot for that November election. Now, y'all, we're talking about this that happened in 2020. And so the selection was not fair, and everything that's going on is not fair. But you all have to speak up for that. I'm one voice, and maybe a couple other folks have some voices, but that's where you speak up and say things are not fair. And it's not fair to have a person who's a congresswoman serving in the Congress seat, as well as being the chair of the Democratic Party. If you go to that website, the Democratic Party of Georgia website, I'm going to tell you 2 unfair things you're going to see if they hadn't already removed it. But knowing how arrogant they are, they have not done it. So you're going to see on the first page, you're going to see the incumbent U.S. Senator, the current senator now, with a picture of Congressman Lewis on there. Now, mind you, the reason I brought that up is he has a challenger, Tamara Shealey Johnson. So why is his picture on the front cover of the Democratic Party's website and everybody else who's running as a Democrat is not listed on the party site at all? Now, you scroll down to the bottom, you're going to see a button that says chip in. And guess who faces on there? The incumbent Congresswoman for the District 5, her son, and a picture of John Lewis. Now, that's a subliminal message. It's telling you, chip in, you see my face. Why is her face on there? And she has 2 opponents in this Democratic primary. And, of course, going to have a Republican, but we're talking about a Democrat right now. That's unfair. You don't see any other elected official that's on that particular front page when you first log on. How is that fair? And then you mean to tell me there are no other qualified leaders in this state who are Democrats that could be the chair of the Democratic Party? I've met some outstanding leaders as a legislator down at the state capitol. I met some around in the county in different cities. So none of them are qualified to be the chair, that this person has to stay in that position. Well, you can't, she's not going to get on the debate stage. We've been waiting for her. So you can't serve 2 masters. You're either going to be making sure that your congressional district 5 people are taken care of, or you making sure the Democratic Party is taken care of. You can't do both things. Somebody is slacking. And in this case, congressional district 5 is slacking. You're not getting the best that you should get out of your congressperson. Well, of course, our time has run down. It has caught us, but that's the say what? That's the last part of that say what. And I want y'all to remember, May the 24th is the primary election. Let your voice be your vote. Let your vote be your voice. But we'll be back for our next show, and it's going to be in May. Actually, it's going to be May the 2nd. May the 2nd, and then May the 16th will be our last show for this season. So you catch us back at 4 p.m. We're going to have another special guest. Who knows who's going to be shut? And May the 2nd is also early voting. So, of course, we're going to be talking about making sure that your voice is your vote and your vote is your voice. And remember, tomorrow, meet and greet. Where? Daz Barbecue at 350 Memorial Drive. And then you can catch me 2 more times this week at the meet and greet at the barbecue spot in Morrow, and also at the Students' Voice candidate forum at the Atlanta Metropolitan Library. And that's on Thursday. All right. Well, thank you all again for tuning in. Make sure you spread the word, tell a neighbor, tell a friend that Honorable Stovall has come to you again. Yeah, that kind of rhymes, right? Okay. Of course, the goal of the issues and answers is to educate you on those things you might not think about unless you are in a situation to be concerned. And right now, we're in a situation to be concerned. If you have any show ideas, you can send me an email at contact@GoStovall, it's contact@GoStovall.com. But again, make sure you check out my website for the Miss Virginia movie screening, the free one that's going to be on Sunday. You have to register. GoStovall, GoStovall.com. All right, thank you. And we appreciate WCEG family. And we will see y'all next month on May the 2nd at 4 p.m.